Good evening. It is wonderful to see you. Welcome. Welcome. Church is wonderfully full tonight. Even if you only come at Christmas and Easter, I really want you to feel welcome and remind you that this is your home. And I'm so glad that you came home for Christmas. This is quite a preaching challenge, to be honest with you. Every year I labor over the Christmas homily. Because I would love more than anything else to be able to connect with you. It's so hard to do. Part of that is just, I'm a human being. We crave connection with each other, don't we? And what do we fear? Isolation and loneliness. We long for connection. But it's not easy. I'm one person. You have all disparate lives that I can't know. It's not easy for many reasons. I remember in studying counseling psychology decades ago about really wrapping my mind around how difficult it is just to really listen to someone. You know what I mean? To bracket your own world and to really listen. If you have someone in your life that really listens to you, you know what I mean. What a treasure that is, right? One of the great ways that we have connection. We have connection with each other by sharing in life with each other, right? You share in life with your spouse and with your children and with your family. And it's bonding. And one of the greatest ways that we have connection and really feel loved if someone is willing to share your burdens. If you have someone that is willing and has maybe already shared your sufferings and shared your burdens, it's one of the greatest treasures in life. Some of you know what I mean, if you've had a serious suffering or difficulty in your life. It's hard. It's hard to connect for lots of reasons. The culture that we live in today, right? We don't do church as well as we used to. All kinds of things in the culture have led us to be less religious and struggle more. Faith has never been easy, but now, even more, struggle with faith, struggle with church, struggle with religion. Look at especially what's happened in the last 300 or 400 years of the march of the sciences that have been magnificent, stunning, staggering. And yet, very subtle ways, in some ways very overt, we treat that now as a substitute for faith, as a substitute for God. And I keep making this argument. It's a simple argument, right? If you count the beginning of the modern scientific era in maybe Copernicus in the 16th century or Isaac Newton in the 17th century, 300 or 400 years, we're in 300 or 400 years into this experiment. I heard it put this way. We've learned so much about the universe, about the forces of nature. We are learning to save ourselves from the ravages of the forces of nature, but not from the ravages of each other. We have made stunning progress in learning to save ourselves from the forces of nature, but not from the ravages of each other. What our amazing progress has not delivered on even a little bit. Is there more harmony now than there was 300 or 400 years ago? Less conflict? How about less war? Less human misery? No. There's a reason that God didn't send a physicist. If I give them this gift, I'm going to unlock all the forces of nature. They're going to know it all. It's going to save them in a final way. He didn't send a cosmologist. Now some of the technologies that are sparking everybody's interest, right? Artificial intelligence, Deacon Mark mentioned that in a homily recently. It's got the promise to change the world in the next few decades. God didn't send a computer scientist or a scientist with quantum computing, also poised to change the world. Or I mentioned Jennifer Doudna, the great American scientist who won the Nobel Prize 2 years ago in gene editing. Oh my gosh. If you caught that homily, or if you read the best-selling book, Code Breakers, poised. As much as we've seen amazing changes in the last few decades, the next few decades, the promise is stunning. We can't even imagine with some of those technologies, but God didn't send a biochemist, right? Didn't send a great psychologist. Because this journey through life, as I say, it's not a science project. It's not an engineering problem. It's really serious business. This one-time little journey that you and I get with a very limited amount of years, and we all have to come to terms with that. The great spiritual issues of the human heart. And how do we deal with the conflict and division and the misery and the suffering and the sadness and the difficulties? And what did I say earlier? The difficulties in connecting with each other. What do we hear today? We're so divided, and it's true. God didn't send a scientist. He sent a baby. A baby. He sent a baby in the pre-scientific era of human history. Why? Wow. God who wants to connect with you. What did I say? The powerful ways we connect with each other, sharing life. God who wanted to share life with us becomes one of us. It's a powerful thing to think about. In the Pastor's Corner this week, one of the things we suffer from, you know the Christmas story over and over and over again. It's easy for it to kind of atrophy and to not think about it and to treat it in a perfunctory way. But it's really powerful to think about. He sent a baby. God wants to connect with you. He wanted to share life with you and with me. And what did I say a few minutes ago? One of the greatest ways to bond and to share and to connect with each other is what? If you have someone in your life that's willing to sacrifice for you and to share your burdens and your sufferings. What's the central words of our Catholic experience, the Mass? This is my body, which is given for you. At the heart of this, the spiritual ethos of the church for 2,000 years. Beautiful words. This is my blood, which will be poured out for you. I said, I'd love to connect with you, but the limit, I'm one guy. The incarnation. God who can connect with each of us by the Spirit. I think of Christmas as a time of hope more than anything else. The incarnation. What does it say? A God who feels so distant and so far away, especially in this modern era, we struggle to connect with him, is really so close, really so close. At the beginning of the Advent season, I kind of built the first Sunday of Advent out of Annie Lamott, an author that I was new to, but a lot of parishioners said, oh my gosh, this woman sells millions of books, writes a lot about spiritual themes, and I got to learn a little bit about her life. But a really difficult struggle with alcohol. I became a Christian and writes about God's action in her life and God's grace and God drawing close to her in such a beautiful fashion. She says the movement of grace is what changes us, and heals our world. To summon grace, she says, say help and buckle up. Grace finds you exactly where you are, but it doesn't leave you where it found you. And remember, grace always bats last. In a book on hope, she writes, hope springs from that which is right in front of us. Hope springs from that which is right in front of us. What a beautiful thought for Christmas. The God who this feast proclaims is right in front of us. And the Christmas season that calls us to open our hearts anew to the presence of God, who wants more than anything else to connect with us, for us to know his love, and us to know that he sacrifices himself for us. My prayer at the end of the Pastor's Corner, which is in the bulletin, if you can take the leap and believe anew in the incarnation. I talk about the real presence at Mass. Is it really so hard to believe in the real presence? And during each and every Mass, Christ chooses to be present to us. This wondrous gift makes it Christmas every single day if we choose. He comes down to bring to us during each Mass every single way, and a way we can touch, feel, and taste to save us. Thanks to him, our lives can be filled with the miracles, little Christmases. We believe and follow. I wish you all a blessed Christmas. I wish you all a renewed sense of hope, a renewed sense of faith, and a deeper sense of God's love for you.